It's good, YouTube. UnknownProdigy back with another video, and I ain't gonna lie, it's been a while. I think the other day I got on stream. I've been posting shorts though. If you seen me, you know what I'm saying. I've been posting shorts, but I haven't been posting videos, and I haven't been streaming. But I'm gonna get back onto it this week because I have a long month ahead. Next month I'm gonna be in December. I'm gonna be in Nashville with my family, cause you know what I'm saying, I gotta see the family, you know what I'm saying. And I'm gonna try to get some content out there. Yeah. And I'm gonna record ahead, you know what I'm saying, so I can get some videos out. So y'all won't be bored, and you know what I'm saying, y'all don't leave me, cause you know what I'm saying, I know y'all can leave me. I've been seeing my subscriber drop, but actually shout out, you know what I'm saying, I just hit 700 subscribers on YouTube, man. Clap it up for me, man. Clap it up. But yeah, man, today we react to another scary video. It is 5 most disturbing Reddit threads. And I ain't gonna lie, I haven't really listened to like no voiceovers. It's really just been animations. So I'm gonna see what's it's talking about. Shout out to Dan Frank, shout out to Real Flow. Let's get straight to it, man.
On the 31st of May 2022, members of several crime-related subreddits like Prison, Ex-Con, and Felon saw the same post from an account named Criminology Student. A quick glance at the post revealed that it was asking ex-convicts to take a survey, reading, "Research participation needed. Hello, my name is Brian, and I'm inviting you to participate in a research project that seeks to understand how emotions and psychological traits influence decision-making when committing a crime. In particular, this study seeks to understand the story behind your most recent criminal offense, with an emphasis on your thoughts and feelings throughout your experience. In the event that your most recent offense
is this normal, my nigga? Hey, Reddit is a place. I ain't gonna lie. Reddit is a whole place. You know what I'm saying? It's everybody in the world on Reddit, because it's a subreddit or whatever it's called for everybody. You know what I'm saying? This shit's crazy though.
One that led to a conviction, you may still participate. Additional surveys are included after the open-ended section as to best understand your unique traits. The study should take about 15 to 20 minutes to fully complete." This was then followed by a rather professional-sounding disclaimer from the OP, as well as his email and full name, Brian Koberger. Now, requests for surveys like this aren't exactly uncommon on these subreddits, especially from students much like Brian. But the questions in this one are a bit strange, asking things like, how did you travel to and enter the location that the crime occurred? Before making your move, how did you approach the victim or target? Before leaving...
Is he trying to learn? Is he taking notes? Alright.
Is there anything else you did? How did you leave the scene? However, the DeSales University email ID and the fact that the survey was hosted on an official-looking website suppressed any suspicion people might have had about its legitimacy. It's unclear how many people actually completed the survey, but Brian must have had some luck because he reposted the same request on many other subreddits over the next month. What none of the participants knew, however, was that this survey would end up becoming evidence for one of the worst crimes in Idaho's history. The police first became aware of the situation on November 13th, 2022 at around noon after receiving a disturbing 911 call traced to Moscow, Idaho.
911 location of your emergency. Something is happening. Something happened in our house. We don't know what. What is the address of the emergency?
And then, bro, why y'all be so calm, bro? Like, you know what I'm saying? Hey, ma'am, calm down. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like you don't want to be on the fucking phone, my nigga. I'm be on the other side, my nigga. Hey, somebody's in my house. Sir, who's in your house? Nigga, hey, matter of fact, I got it, bro. Fuck y'all. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna hang up and just handle myself, nigga, because y'all niggas so uninterested, bro. Fuck.
With Google Play Games,
fucking ad, man.
The caller was sobbing so hard she could barely explain what was happening. Then another girl grabbed the phone from her and told the dispatcher that her roommate was unconscious and not breathing.
Damn.
Officers rushed to the scene, expecting the worst outcome. However, nothing could have prepared them for the brutally gruesome scene they were about to walk into.
No.
The house, located on Kings Road, was the off-campus residence of several University of Idaho students.
No.
And upon arrival, the officers saw bloody remains of 4 of these students scattered throughout the house. All 4 of them had numerous lacerations and stab wounds and had tragically already passed away by the time help arrived. According to later autopsy reports, the 4 were attacked by likely the same person at around 4 a.m. One of the surviving roommates, who later called 911, remembered seeing a masked stranger roaming around the house around that time, but she was too intoxicated to trust her own vision and passed out shortly after locking her bedroom door. Crime scene investigators arrived at the scene shortly after the police and began looking for clues. Unfortunately, the only thing they found in the house was the leather sheath of a knife under one of the victims. This finding would prove extremely important later, but at the time it did little to help investigators identify the killer. The DNA present on it, for example, wasn't in the FBI's database. Though what made the case even harder to solve was the complete lack of motive. Nothing was missing from the house, and there were no signs the perpetrator had done anything other than commit the murders. With no other option, investigators began analyzing CCTV footage from around the region. And that's when they discovered a white Hyundai Elantra speeding away from the area shortly after the estimated time of the crime. Further analysis revealed that the same car had been circling the victim's house hours before the incident. Tracking this vehicle led to 28-year-old Brian Christopher Koberger, the same Brian Koberger who had posted this survey on Reddit months earlier. He had a master's in criminal justice and was pursuing a PhD at Washington State University. That said, he had no real connections with the victims. His presence in the general vicinity of the incident wasn't strong enough evidence to issue an arrest warrant either. So the investigators looked deeper, and using his phone data confirmed that he'd visited the house many times in the past. He also turned his phone off for several hours around the same time as the incident, something he had never done in years. He likely thought that keeping his phone off would prevent law enforcement from tracking his location. But this sudden break in pattern...
And that's why I don't even trust no fucking phones, man. You turn that shit off, it don't even matter for real. You know what I'm saying? People like, turn your phone off, bro. Shit don't work, man. You know what I'm saying? It don't work. Now right now my phone listening to me. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, man. This shit is fucking insane though.
Stood out even more, giving authorities the go-ahead to arrest Brian. However, tracking him down turned out to be far more difficult than investigators had anticipated. By the time they caught on to him, he was long gone from his university. And after a weeks-long manhunt, Brian was finally located and subsequently arrested on December 30, 2022. He was found hiding in his parents' home in Pennsylvania, over 2,500 miles away from the crime scene. DNA samples taken after the arrest also matched the sample found on the knife sheath perfectly, further confirming that Brian was the one investigators were looking for. And while he kept denying the allegations at first, he eventually confessed to everything in exchange for a plea deal to avoid the death penalty. He stood trial on July 23, 2025, and was sentenced to 4 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. His conviction also put his Reddit survey requests in a much different light. Brian was trying to learn how other criminals carried out their crimes and the mistakes that got them caught so the same didn't happen to him. Though, one thing that's been completely missing from any of these findings is his motive. Why would a seemingly well-adjusted man on path to a doctorate degree commit such a heinous crime, especially when he didn't even know his victims beforehand? Well, the most popular theory states that his actions were the result of a deeply unwell man developing an irrational hatred for women. You see, Brian suffered from visual snow, a condition where the patient sees black and white flickering dots all around them. The constant noise can make life difficult and cause other psychological issues, something Brian himself was well aware of. As he wrote in a Visual Snow discussion forum, I always feel as if I'm not there, completely depersonalized. Mentally, I experience fog, lack of comprehension at sometimes, feel like my life is a movie, depression, no interest in activities, constant thoughts of death, anxiety, poor self-image, poor social skills, no emotions. I feel like nothing has a point to it. When I get home, I am mean to my family. This started when Visual Snow did. I felt no emotion along with the depersonalization. I can say and do whatever I want with little remorse. His irrational hatred for women also manifested in his day-to-day life. It was the primary reason he was fired from his position as a teacher's assistant, and was even caught harassing women at a brewery a few months prior. Now, most analysis of Brian's reasoning end here. But from what I've seen, his motive might have been a lot deeper and involved his admiration of infamous serial killer Ted Bundy. Brian apparently did a lot of online research about Ted Bundy, both before and after committing the crime. Investigators also found a selfie Brian took with a smile on Mount Rainier, one of the remote locations Ted Bundy often visited to commit his crimes. According to an ex-detective and crime expert, maybe he wanted to pick up where Ted Bundy left off. Fortunately, his plan wasn't as foolproof as he'd expected, allowing the authorities to put him behind bars before
it's crazy because it's like a lot of people in the world is like him right now. Just, you know what I'm saying? It's crazy.
Any more innocent people.
Be safe out there, y'all.
Not only is Reddit a place to find some extremely disturbing threads, but as of recent, it's also been a place I've been finding some pretty unsettling medical stories. For example, I recently saw an innocent-looking post in r/mildly interesting where a woman woke up with different sized pupils. Turns out this is really serious, and she ended up getting hundreds of urgent comments telling her to see a doctor immediately. Now, I personally have had situations like this, less serious of course, like a random shooting pain in my chest or my heart racing for no reason. But most of the time this happens at like midnight, when every doctor's office is closed anyway. That is where today's video sponsor ZocDoc comes in. ZocDoc is a free website where you can search and compare high-quality, in-network doctors, choose the right one for your needs, and click respect to mental for assessing and book a top-rated doctor today. On June 27, 2022, a Reddit user shared an eerie voicemail they received that morning at 5:40 a.m. stating, "Okay, so I got a coded message sent to my voicemail from a blocked number. I do not talk to any old men or have any in my family. Any ideas of what this means? Please. I recently changed my phone number, but this is weird because where I bartend, we sell pizza. Do I listen to too much true crime, or is this weird?" This is the full minute-long voicemail OP received.
You should always judge pizza by the sauce, the dough, and the cheese, not by the toppings on it. Also, when ordering pizza, especially for delivery or pickup, it is not a bad idea to order it well done, as most places have a tendency to undercook it, especially when they're busy, like on a Friday night. Now that is, of course, unless you like it lightly cooked. Now I have no interest at all in watching the Kardashians, and I never have, nor will I ever wear a backpack. And I hope this is clear to you.
Yep, this is a fucking code. I could just tell. You know what I'm saying? I probably played too many fucking games like that. This is... I won't be able to decipher.
The whole thing sounded like nothing but incoherent rambling on a first listen. It started with a somewhat understandable point about judging pizza from its sauce, dough, and cheese, since those are the core components of pizza. But then the advice about ordering a well-done pizza made no sense, as pizza being delivered undercooked isn't really an option. Though, the most bizarre sections of the voicemail came from after the pizza rant, where the topic suddenly jumped to watching the Kardashians, and even more strangely, wearing backpacks. How this all connected to each other was unclear. And even if it did make sense, what any of it had to do with the OP was an even bigger mystery. Not to mention the fact that this sender dialed *67 before sending the voicemail. This service allows users to hide their number for the very next call or voicemail. In other words, whoever sent this message wanted to stay anonymous. Now, one of the first working theories people on Reddit came up with was that the sender was more than likely suffering from dementia. One user even shared a personal anecdote on the matter to back this particular assessment, stating, "Sounds like someone with dementia. My grandpa would talk very much like this before he passed. At some point, he would even wake up in the middle of the night and have full-blown conversations with nobody." But while that all is a possibility, it doesn't seem very likely. Mainly because there are no pauses or stumbles between the different thoughts. It's as if the caller had rehearsed the message beforehand, or maybe even written it down before calling. Of course, this could just be a troll message with no real purpose other than to spook the OP. However, a more plausible theory gives this otherwise strange-sounding voicemail a much more sinister meaning. And it all stems from the Pizzagate controversy from back in 2016, where Democrat-led establishments, namely the Comet Ping Pong Pizzeria in Washington, D.C., were accused of being fronts for illegal trafficking rings. At the time, several official sources, including the Washington Police, New York Times, and the Washington Post, ensured that this was nothing more than a conspiracy with zero proof to back its claims. For instance, the accusations claimed the restaurant had a basement where underage victims were kept before being sold off. But when inspected, the building turned out to have no basement at all, let alone one big enough to facilitate a large-scale criminal operation. However, the sheer popularity of this controversy could have led to an actual uptick in using pizza-related terms as code for actual trafficking operations. So, as the theory goes, the message OP received was encoded with similar intentions and was meant for someone else. Especially with the addition of, "I hope this is clear to you at the end," which implies a deeper meaning to those words. As one user put it, "It's some kind of coded message for a person who most definitely was not meant to be you." The "I hope this is clear to you" line, as well as it sounding like he's reading off of a prepared script, makes it seem pretty deliberate. The random mention of Kardashians and backpacks seems like another
nigga, I'm getting chills, my nigga.
Code in the midst of a weird rant about ordering pizza. Seriously, who undercooks pizza? And finally, the fact that they hid their number, it just kind of solidifies it in my mind. He either dialed the wrong number, which seems more likely as your line is already 3 years old, I think you mentioned, or tried to reach the person who had your last number. Following this logic, some other users tried to decipher the code, but without the actual key, there is no way to confirm or reject any of these interpretations. For instance, the undercooked or well done parts could be a metaphor for the victim's age or their skin color. The mention of not watching the Kardashians could refer to the type of payment agreement the sender is looking for. And as one user pointed out, the Friday section could be a way to confirm the meetup date. The possibilities are truly endless. And as far as I could find, the OP never got any more messages, calls, or voicemails from this person, leaving the true meaning of this creepy, likely encoded message a complete mystery.
Damn, it'll get solved.
Games went down.
Damn. Man. Nah, that gave me chills, brody.
On February 24th, 2015, Reddit user Concerned Hubs made a rather concerning post on r/legal advice. It read, "Need advice on talking to police regarding my wife. My wife has not returned home since she went out shopping late Saturday. It's getting to the point where I should call the police to file a missing persons report. I would like to be as helpful as possible when speaking to the police, but want to avoid triggering any suspicions about me. I hear a lot of stories of husbands being falsely accused when something happens. Should I only give them information in response to specific questions? Is there anything I should not bring up? I'm planning on contacting the police tomorrow morning. I can't postpone much longer as I'm getting messages asking about her and I don't want to say anything to her friends or family until I file the report first. I now realize that I should have talked to her friends and family first, but at this point I don't want to explain why I didn't file a report yet." Upon seeing this post, some people were genuinely worried for the safety of OP's wife and urged him to call the police immediately. Jesus Christ, man, call the cops. What is wrong with you? You should have called the cops when she didn't come home Saturday. However, with every comment he replied to, it became clear that the OP was more worried about not looking suspicious to the police than about his wife's well-being. Unless your wife is in the habit of disappearing for days at a time, what are you thinking? If I last heard from mine Saturday, I'd be totally freaking out. Well, I am totally freaking out. In addition to being concerned about my wife, I'm worried that this will snowball into something more than a missing wife case. It seems that the police can be overly suspicious in these situations. I was going to tell the police that I waited because I didn't think that they'd do anything anyway until after 48 hours have passed. Just passed that a few hours ago now. This is true, but I'm wondering if it will sound reasonable to the police. One person even suggested that the OP was just a troll, making up the whole story after watching a movie with a similar plot. But as with his other replies, the OP doubled down once again and focused more on not looking suspicious than addressing the situation itself. This sounds a lot like Gone Girl. You trolling? If not, then you're perhaps the most irrational person to show up here in a while. If that's the case, then I hope your wife is okay. Never seen Gone Girl and am not trolling. What have I said that's irrational? I just want to avoid the situation from developing into more than it has to be. And when people tried to call him out on his twisted thinking, he started lashing out, writing things like, "Who are you to judge what a normal person would be thinking in a stressful and scary situation?"
I would never think that. Nah, he did it. No, this is obvious, clear day, he did it, bro.
Trying so hard to not look suspicious, the OP was only making himself seem guiltier with every passing minute. This resulted in most users accusing him of taking the life of his wife and then trying to learn how to avoid suspicion with the police on Reddit. So, where'd you hide her body? Seriously, just from this messed up post, I think you killed her. Does anyone else think OP killed her?
As soon as people started making these accusations, however, the OP suddenly changed his story and miraculously found a convenient note his wife left behind, writing,
Update, she was leaving town for a while to spend time with an old friend. I'm going to have my wife's best friend make some calls to my wife's family and friends to let them know that she's okay. Update 2, looks like I'll be talking to the police today after all. Shortly after my wife's friend contacted my father-in-law to explain, I started getting very angry messages from her family saying that they're calling the police. My first thought was to call police right away before they do, but think I'll wait for now since it doesn't make sense for me to call just after finding the note.
Unfortunately for the OP, this wasn't very convincing. The idea of his wife leaving home for shopping and then spontaneously deciding to spend days out with a friend was absurd on its own. But what made this even stranger was the fact that she didn't even try to text or call him and left a handwritten note instead. Smartphones were everywhere in 2015. Even if her own phone was dead, she could have easily borrowed her friend's. Something was not adding up, and there were two distinct possibilities. On the one hand, maybe his wife did actually leave with her friend after Saturday night shopping, but she only did so to escape OP's abusive behavior, something he claimed that he never did. On the other hand, the accusations from Reddit users were true, and OP was just desperately looking for a way to cover up his tracks. This second possibility grew even stronger when someone found an Ask Reddit post OP made that same day asking whether notes from loved ones are usually typed or handwritten. Put simply, he was likely looking for the best way to forge the note he said was from his wife. This removed a lot of doubt people had about his guilt. The OP, however, stuck to his recounting of the events from here on, and even posted long-winded stories about family drama with his in-laws. And after arguing with people on Reddit for a full day, the OP disappeared from the website. His last comment promised an update that never arrived, leaving his story without a clear end. Where he is now is unclear. Maybe it's prison, if something nefarious really was going on here. But without an update or news article, we will never know for sure.
How? Y'all didn't look at no fucking... Alright, man. That pissed me off. Could leave me on fucking...
On January 18th, 2014, a post on r/AskReddit asked users to share the scariest situations they'd been in. Moments when they weren't even sure if they would make it out alive. This post reached the front page of Reddit and received thousands of replies with people sharing stories from their time in the military.
Don't hear them, you know what I'm saying? Let me know in the comments, man. I'll make it story time.
Experience with car accidents and how they felt when faced with a cruel prank from a relative. However, most of these stories paled in comparison to the disturbing account user SwiftJustice25 shared about their encounter with a creepy man in a foreign country. The comment read,
This post is very long, but I couldn't tell the whole story very well without it being this long. When I was a missionary in Brazil, my companion and I were approached by a seemingly homeless man who greeted us in almost perfect English. Turns out he was an American who had been living in Brazil for about 30 years. His name was Bickford. He had to have been in his late 50s to 60s. It was hard to tell because of his big beard and very unkempt appearance. He feigns interest in what we were peddling and asks for a copy of the Book of Mormon, but is clearly more excited to be speaking English with two Americans. We meet up with him a few times to discuss religion, but he would always meet us at the side of the road or some other public but still secluded place. We had to give weekly reports to the ecclesiastical leaders for the local unit about who we were meeting and teaching. After meeting Bickford a few times, we bring him up in our weekly meeting. The bishop and his other leaders instantly know who we are talking about and caution us to stay away from this guy. Apparently, he's a bit unstable, and once or twice a year will start bothering the missionaries. My companion and I can't believe the bishop is referring to the same person, and we continue meeting with him. I don't know how to adequately describe the creepiness of this guy. Between his disheveled appearance, flat-out lying to us, and other small signs, he had a certain sinister vibe. But with nothing concrete to put our finger on, we continued to speak to him. Occasionally, he would run into us outside of the house we lived in.
In one of these encounters, he invited them to his house in the jungle, all while talking about how nice and wonderful it was there. The OP and his partner reluctantly agreed and showed up at the road closest to the house. Bickford arrived a bit late and then told them to follow him into the jungle through waist-high foliage and insects. However, what they witnessed on the other side of the trail was beyond disturbing. As the OP described it,
When we finally arrived at his house, my companion and I played it cool, but we couldn't believe what we were seeing. He had led us to a small clearing where there was a wooden cabin that had half collapsed on itself. He said welcome home and let us inside. There was no electricity, no running water, no utilities.
Nah, I'm gone.
whatsoever. We walked in the front door frame, no door, and saw that all furniture in the house had been destroyed. Literally, someone had concentrated a large amount of effort and time to achieve this level of destruction. Chairs were unrecognizable, and there was trash everywhere. He begins showing us the main room inside the front door. That's when I noticed them. Notes, in chalk, on every square inch of the wooden walls, up the walls, on the ceiling, and a tiny frenzied scrawl. When I trained my light on the notes and started to read them, most of the notes were variations on, "Jesus will forgive me, but I have to stop. I did it again." These with the month and date written next to them. And then, the piece de resistance, the names of several children, with their ages and graphic detail about them. We tried so hard not to mention the notes. We tried so hard to ask him small talk questions about the rotting food on the stove or the 100 or so rats he kept in his basement. Anything but mentioning the notes. I can't speak for my companion, but I was freaking out. From glances at each other, I could see that he was at DEF CON 1 as well, and we decided to get out of there. We made some excuse as it was getting late that we needed to get home, and he reluctantly offered to show us the way back, on the condition that we would come visit again. As we get out of the house, he suddenly remembers that he knows a shortcut and tells us to follow him. The direction he was trying to lead us is clearly not the way back to the road. It only led deeper into the jungle. We politely declined, and luckily we were able to follow the trail that we had originally made through the underbrush. This time, however, I did not care about the spiders. When we got back onto the road and realized we were safe, we looked at each other as if to say, did that really happen? Once we started talking about what we just saw, I was so terrified that I physically could not speak. Nothing like that had ever happened to me nor since. I absolutely could not make a sound, I was so scared. My companion called our leaders who called their leaders, and we ended up moving about a week later. But not before making an entry in our area book, the book that stays in the area listing who had been talked to and who to contact in the area, warning all other missionaries to stay away from this guy.
Now, this reads almost like the plot of a short horror film. The story of a deranged, possible serial killer living in the jungles of Brazil sounds almost too fictitious to be true. And the OP was quite aware of this as well, which is where the most important part of his story comes in, the recordings. As it turned out, OP, fearing for his own safety, secretly recorded many of his conversations with Bigford and posted the link to a compilation with his comment. For example, Bigford talking about the rats he raises.
You know, when I call like this, they come back.
Oh, here they are, the rats.
Yes.
The fuck?
125.
Sick ass nigga. Lock him up, man.
You can catch him and say hello. This is a female.
Do you not put the collars on all of them, or?
No.
This nigga said you put collars on all. Nigga, he putting collars on rats, my nigga.
The old ones. These are the first. These I even leave the tails on.
Normally you clip them off?
Yes.
How come?
I have a little sister, a pair of scissors.
He's sick. He even
also,
explained
the
why
notes
he did
on the wall.
Do you write yourself notes on the...
Sometimes I do.
That's neat.
I have electronic schedule. How do you call it? Electronic agent. But now it's in some there. I wrote on every wall.
This compilation also included their last conversation with Bigford while trying to escape his house unharmed, and it played out exactly as the OP described.
Well, we better get back to our house at night here.
Okay.
It was nice to come out here to see where you live and everything.
Let me return that little rat.
Well, can you lead us back out?
Yes, of course. But there's a shorter way to out.
No, we can go out the same way that we came in. Same way is fine.
Think so?
Smart.
Yeah. Simple plans.
Smart.
Please come this way. All this way to the gate is so wet. You're going to.
It's okay. No, I'd actually prefer to go that way because that way wasn't so bad.
Oh. I know. Well, so there's a short. You know, remember that street I told you? The street is closer here from this way.
Nah, bitch, shut up.
Let's go.
You can passed by the same place we were 2 minutes ago. But
we can go back just the same way. That way we can learn it better. For the next
yeah, that way we can learn it better for the next time. All right.
Nah,
Hearing this highlights the full extent of the danger OP
he was eager to kill these niggas.
and their partner were in. Who knows what cruel plans Bigfoot had for them if they had been gullible enough to follow him deeper into the woods. Fortunately, they managed to escape unharmed and lived to tell the story. Near the end of his comment, OP also mentioned that they did report Bigfoot to both the local and Brazilian federal police.
Stop leaving me on cliffhangers, bro. You can't keep doing that, bro.
Woods. Fortunately, they did report Bigfoot.
If Rota state level SWAT team without all those pesky try not to shoot people rules has any say in the matters, Bigfoot's rats have probably already disposed of his body. Wait, what? After I posted on Reddit, I went and made a report in both local Rota state level SWAT team without all those pesky has any say in this matter, Bigfoot's rats.
To both the local and Brazilian federal police.
I don't get it. Hey, fuck it, man. I don't give a fuck, man. Fuck it.
On the 7th of February 2017, a throwaway Reddit account made a disturbing post on r/legal advice seeking help to save their unborn child. The post read, "I'm pregnant and being investigated by DCS. Hello, I'm 29 years old, happily married. My husband and I are college educated, have respectable, stable jobs, own a home in a nice neighborhood. We're basically as prepared as anyone can be to start a family. I'm almost 9 months pregnant with our first child. The problem is that 11 years ago, when my husband was a freshman in college, he was arrested for possession of marijuana. It was a large enough amount that he was charged with a Class D felony. Our jurisdiction is very harsh regarding marijuana, but not intent to deal. He pleaded guilty and did his time in probation without a problem, passing every drug test along the way. He has not touched marijuana or any other illegal substance since, and we rarely even drink and haven't at all in over a year. I have no criminal record and have never done drugs myself. It was a stupid mistake he made as a foolish 18-year-old, and he's worked hard to put it behind him. Someone has apparently contacted child services in our area and informed them that we are drug users. This accusation is being taken very seriously because of my husband's record. We have been as cooperative as we could be with our caseworker. We've been interviewed, our home has been examined, and she found nothing remotely suspicious or incriminating. We've both taken drug tests and passed. Our caseworker says that everything looks just fine so far. Unfortunately, she also says that there's still the possibility that our child could be taken from us in the labor and delivery ward, and that we won't be allowed to take her home. I was devastated and horrified to hear that. When I asked why, she said it was not up to her, and we'll have to wait and see, which made absolutely no sense to me. What gives? I feel like there's something she isn't telling me, but I have no experience with DCS, and I'm not aware of anything we could have possibly done wrong. I know they'll have to test my daughter for drugs when she's born, but she has not been exposed to drugs, nothing more than prenatal vitamins, not even Tylenol, and I already proved that by passing a drug test. I'm scared and confused. Do I need a lawyer? I have anticipated spending our savings on our new daughter/parental leave, but I will use that money for a lawyer if I have to. This was a tragic situation all around. The fear of losing their first child just minutes after birth is overwhelming enough. Not to mention the physical stress OP must have been under, which could have negatively affected her and by extension her baby's health. Most people who came across this post sympathized with the OP and tried to help the best they could. Some suggested continuing to cooperate with the authorities, while others told the OP to lawyer up as soon as they could. But for a large number of people, something about the whole situation just didn't sit right. I am a former Indiana CPS investigator/assessor. Something here is not making any sense at all, unless the law has changed greatly in the last few years when I left the department. As of this moment, you are pregnant, correct? You don't have any children. They're investigating the fetus? Former CPS worker here too. Agree with you. CPS does not investigate pregnant women with no current children. Something is not right. They urged the OP to take a closer look at the investigation, maybe even call CPS and DCS directly and inquire about the ongoing investigation. Even then, none of these commenters could have expected just how correct they would be. The truth came out on February 22nd when the OP returned with a very important update, stating, I contacted and met with a lawyer and explained the situation to him. He seemed to agree that something was very fishy. To make a long story short, the woman handling our case has no affiliation with DCS. I'm still in complete shock.
We went straight to the police. They're taking this very seriously. I can't give a lot of details because it's an ongoing investigation, but she seems to have been a very skilled / well-researched liar. I never would have known anything was amiss without the advice of this subreddit and the intervention of my attorney. I feel like a complete idiot, but the instinct to cooperate unquestioningly when faced with an intimidating authority figure is strong. I haven't had the baby yet. We're staying at a trusted family member's home until the baby is born. My OB and the hospital we'll be delivering at have already been informed of the situation and will be taking the appropriate security measures. I'm still freaking out, but we're taking every precaution for the safety of my child, and hopefully everything will turn out okay. Thanks again, everybody, truly.
Parents of children who play Roblox. If your child was sexually exploited,
However, while the OP's situation had a somewhat happy ending, it's hard to imagine what would have happened if she hadn't turned to the internet for advice. Wow. Whoever this imposter was clearly did her homework. She knew about the
jail, trying to take the nigga kid, bro.
Husband's past felony and had enough legal knowledge to pose as a government worker for months without getting caught. And even scarier thought is what this imposter was planning to do once she had the newborn baby. The best case scenario would have been a legal adoption in exchange for money, but there were far worse possibilities for what could have happened to that infant. Luckily, the crisis was averted before it happened. That said, I wasn't able to find any reports of this imposter ever being identified or arrested.
Bro,
having such a dangerous person still out there could be disastrous for who knows how many vulnerable families. Interestingly,
I want to hear happy endings, bro. Damn.
For reports on this individual, I came across an article about the police in Greenfield, Indiana looking for a woman who impersonated a DCS worker. This was from back in 2014, 3 years before the OP made her post. In other words, there's a possibility that the police in Greenfield were looking for the same person. Maybe she somehow avoided getting arrested and went after the OP years later. On a similar note, a 44-year-old woman named Lisa Nakrelli was arrested in June 2023 for impersonating a CPS worker and trying to kidnap a 4-year-old boy. She later claimed that she was just trying to scare the parents a little for leaving their son unattended. Fortunately, the court did not buy her excuse one bit. She is still awaiting trial, but if convicted on all charges, she's looking at up to 12.5 years in prison. This incident happened in Ohio, a neighboring state of Indiana. Put simply, there's a non-zero chance that Lisa was the very person Indiana police were searching for in 2014, and the same woman who posed as a DCS officer in front of the Reddit OP.
No butt, by the way.
If this is the case, she likely moved to Ohio.
I know y'all seen that, man. No butt, by the way, man. Nothing going on back there, man.
As a DCS officer in front of the Reddit OP. If this is the case, she likely moved to Ohio after getting exposed in Indiana and tried pulling the same trick all over again. Though I should mention that this is nothing more than an educated guess on my part based on everything we've seen. Maybe we'll finally learn the truth when she eventually stands trial.
Man, that's some good ass stories, man. But this video is too long, so I'm gonna get up out of here, man. Hey, hope y'all enjoyed the video. This is a new little, you know what I'm saying, format, whatever. Reacting to like voiceovers. I like them. I'll do more. But I hope y'all enjoyed the video. Subscribe there for subscribe to Real Flow. With that being said, if you don't work, you don't eat. 1 million on the way. See ya.